On today's show,
think back to our time with him and my family with him. I would say he was probably the biggest influence of wanting me in being a coach and the kind of coach that I wanted to be. It wasn't the wins, the losses, it was more about how inclusive we could make it.
The chatter gets started once again. Kansas Sports Chatter is back at it for Tuesday to wrap up the month of September. My name is Cole Rife, and it is a statewide high school sports entertainment show that does just that. Talk about high school sports in Kansas. Love hearing all the stories, the different insights, and the paths on how certain coaches got to where they're at, and also some of the successes that they have had. And we got some good stories here today. King Lawson from Shawnee Mission West High School and Rod Stallbaumer, the head coach of the Basehor-Linwood football team, will be with us with the leadoff question. Brent Maycock with KSHSAA Covered will tell us about a recent story of his about C.J. Hamilton from Silver Lake, who was inducted in the KSHSAA Hall of Fame. Ed Mense from Quinter High School, the cross-country coach, will be our quality time interview. Brice Kesler, the executive director for the Kansas Shrine Bowl, will update us on what's going on at the Kansas Shrine Bowl. Also, Conor, Nicholl, Sunflower Sports Solutions, will talk volleyball, a few athletes that he wants to highlight. Austin Broadie from Washburn University and the Ichabod volleyball team, off to a hot start this year in our Trinity Academy in Wichita, will be our next level talents. And Adam Kadavy with Scott City Radio, the voice of the Scott City Beavers, will have one of his highlights at the end of the show. As we usually do, here we go. It's the leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with King Lawson, a member of the Shawnee Mission West football team. King, who's the best player that you played against so far in your high school career?
The best player I've lined up against in my high school career is Lorenzo Johnson from Sligo High School. That's the best player I've played against in there. The best player, just on the field I've played against, is Dylan Dunn from Blue Valley Southwest.
Were you aware just how good they were before you played them? What was the scouting report for those players?
The scouting report is just don't get beat on the outside with the speed and don't let them use their hands before I use my hands.
What made them so good? What were some of their characteristics that just made them so good?
They just never took plays off. Every play of the game was 100%. You could never catch them trying to go any less effort. So that's made it hard because at that point in time in my career, I was kind of getting tired a little fast. So made it
How did you fare against them? Do you remember how you did?
I didn't do too bad. I didn't let up no sacks. I let up a couple tackles because of missed blocks, but no sacks. And then against Dylan Dunn, I had a sack against him, and then that was about it.
What's it like when you go up against somebody like that? Do you like that challenge when you're going up against top competition?
Oh, most definitely, because then it shows me where I stand against other competition and other people. And then even if I don't win or if I do win, I get to go back on film, watch the mistakes I made, and watch the good things I did to change what I need to change and don't change what I don't.
That is King Lawson with Shawnee Mission West football and today's leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with Rod Stallbaumer, the head football coach for Basehor-Linwood High School. Coach, who is the best player that you've coached against so far in high school?
In my whole career? Oh, boy. Malik Benson was pretty special at Lansing. He was a guy that we couldn't stop in the game we played him a few years ago. He ended up going to Alabama and Florida State and places. So he's one of the first that pops to my mind, I guess.
What stood out about him? What were some of the specifics that just made him so good?
His speed and raw athleticism. We actually tried to bracket him that game, and he still caught two post routes behind us. So he was tall, he was long, he was fast. And so fortunately, in that particular game, it was a close game all the way through, and we got the ball back with about 7 minutes to go and just never gave the ball back. Otherwise, I think if he got one more shot at us, they'd have found a way to get him the ball, and he'd probably beat us. But, yeah, he's a playmaker for sure.
What is it like when you're game planning for an individual like that? So what is that game plan? I imagine there's got to be some extra hours there throughout the night.
No, it definitely makes you have to kind of reevaluate what you do schematically and make some adjustments. So, yeah, they're going to command attention, and you better have a plan in place for them. And so we tried to bracket. We tried to put two guys on him. We tried to put some of our better players on him. And like I said, none of them were really effectual. So he was pretty dang good. But no, it definitely forces you to make some alterations.
Do you remember any of his numbers as far as what you maybe were able to contain him to?
He caught 4 passes. They threw him, I believe, 4 passes. We batted 1 away. He caught 1 hitch, and then he caught 2 touchdown post routes over the top of us. So I think he wound up with about 75 yards or something, 80 yards and 2 touchdowns on 3 catches. So still pretty good stat line for a team who runs the ball a lot.
As far as the individuals that had to try to at least cover him as best as possible, what were their feelings like, and what do you kind of tell to them?
Well, I mean, I think they were pretty confident coming in, but pretty discouraged when they left. But we were excited to get the win. So we had a Brady Garrison play corner on him, and he's the one that got the pass breakup on a play near the goal line, and he still talks about that one. So he definitely understood the importance and significance of being able to make a play on him. So it meant something to him just to even get the one stop that he did.
That is Rod Stallbaumer, the head football coach for Basehor-Linwood High School football team. And that'll do it for our leadoff question. That is King Lawson with Shawnee Mission West High School, and also Rod Stallbaumer with the head coach of the Basehor-Linwood football team with our leadoff question responses. Thanks to those two. We'll take a break. When we come back, Brent Maycock with KSHSAA Covered, one of the staff writers. He'll be sharing his story that he wrote about C.J. Hamilton, all-time winningest coach out of Silver Lake, inducted into the KSHSAA Hall of Fame this year. Brent Maycock will share his story after this.
The key to a great game is sportsmanship. It is essential to show respect to your opponents, teammates, coaches, and yourself. Playing hard, being fair, and having fun are what sportsmanship is all about. Whether you win or lose, congratulate your team and opponents for their hard work and dedication. Good sportsmanship is about demonstrating integrity, fairness, and respect. Let's show the world what true sportsmanship is all about this season.
Kansas Sports Chatter is not your ordinary sports show. It's fast-paced, has tons of interviews, and is a celebration of all the successes that high school athletics bring us. Hear from statewide guests, the coaches, the players, officials, media personalities, and all the recognizable big names that make high school athletics so great in Kansas. Kansas Sports Chatter, where sports and entertainment collide. Check it out on YouTube or anywhere you download your podcasts. It is story time with KSHSAA Covered, and one of the staff writers, Brent Maycock, joining us here on the show. And hey, Brent, you had the opportunity and the privilege to write up the article on C.J. Hamilton, longtime coach for Silver Lake, and was one of the part of the induction class in 2025 with the KSHSAA Hall of Fame. So, like for you, like I know you have written and covered a lot of big events and stories and big names in your career, but when you got a guy like C.J., 40 plus years at one institution, all-time winningest coach, a bucket full of state championships, in a good way, is there any sense of maybe like extra pressure to get that article right when you're writing something like that up?
Yeah, I think anytime you're talking about somebody with that historical sense to them about them, just the greatness that it was and the magnitude at which of what he did at Silver Lake. Yeah, I think there's always pressure anytime you write a story like that. I feel pressure anytime I'm writing any kind of story, if it's somebody retiring or going into the Hall of Fame, because you want to capture their legacy in that story. And so, yeah, when I was writing it up this morning, in fact, just sitting there going through, okay, how best is the way for me to go about, tackling this story. And so I went out and met with him. It's the first time I'd seen him face to face in like 5 years, and just how sharp he still is. He could still go out there and roll up 9, 10, 11 win seasons in today's game. I mean, he was talking about it, and, he was using terms with me like avatar and things like that. And it's like, this guy's 73 years old and he's talking avatar. I mean, he is still so sharp and so involved with this game that I think he could step back out on the field and still, add to that legacy if he could.
I mean, you look at some of the accolades that you're outlining in your story. I mean, the obvious ones with the 8 state championships, all-time wins, 447 wins, over 100 playoff wins through KSHSAA. Does he get a sense, and he's probably very humble about it, but does he get a sense of where he's at and what he was able to accomplish at Silver Lake?
I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, I know the number, but the number really isn't what sticks out to him. What has stuck out with him all this time is just the interactions that he had with his players and with his assistant coaches, which was one of the amazing things. Was his assistant coaches that were with him, they were with him for not just 5, 10, 15, we're talking 20, 25, 30, close to 40 years. Some of those guys, Warren Bledsoe, Mark Workman, Lauren Ziegler, they were with him for so long. And that was a big part of what made Silver Lake successful, is because those kids would come back year after year, and you have the same coaches, same expectations, what they were going to give. And so in talking with CJ, it was those interactions that he cherished the most. And he talked about, some of the other coaches that he used to coach against, and how, some of those guys aren't here anymore. Roger Barda and Mark Ludke both passing away this summer, also coaching legends in this state. And he said, just having those interactions with those people, those were the things that he remembers the most. He doesn't remember the games in particular. He couldn't tell you the scores, but he can remember, moments in practice, or a moment in this, or a moment in that's what really stuck out to him. And since he retired, he has battled so many different health issues. He's had his right leg amputated from his knee down, and dealt with a whole lot of medical issues, that he was basically isolated in his house for 2 years, and getting back out and being able to now get back out and go to the games on Friday nights. I mean, that's CJ, and that's what he loves. And he says, that's what he really remembers the most, is the interactions, not the championships, not all the records. It's the interactions that he had with the Silver Lake players and community.
We talk of CJ Hamilton as, this football legend, which he is, and really just a coaching legend, because, he was really good just overall. You talk about, even when he first got started at Silver Lake in the 70s and 80s, Brent, the baseball state titles as well as Silver Lake. So, the guy could just simply coach.
Oh, yeah. The baseball titles were, oh, by the way, he also won 3 state baseball titles, and then was an assistant coach for Alan Cunningham for a number of years, as Alan was racking up more state titles for that program. So, yeah, he's been involved in so many different aspects, and, in the weight room, and really, really making that a part of Silver Lake's culture there, to where, it helped all their programs. And so, he's always kind of been a little bit ahead of his time too, I think, in the way that he looked at the game and saw the game. Silver Lake went to a passing attack well before that became the in vogue way of offenses attacking things nowadays. They were doing that 30, 40 years ago, as using the passing game as a legitimate way of balancing out their offense. So, yeah, he's just, everything he's been involved with, he's had greatness with, and that's just kind of how he is. He's somebody that his mind's always working. He's always trying to figure out a way of how to do this better, or how to do that better. And that carries over, to whether it was football, whether it was baseball, whatever it was. The guy would be just an incredible resource to sit down with and pick his brain, because I still think, today he says when he goes out and watches the games on Friday nights, he's still looking at it from an analytical aspect, not just as a fan.
Hey, Brent, appreciate the time, and been enjoying the articles you guys have been pumping out, you and the rest of the crew. Keep up the good work.
All right. I appreciate being on. Thanks, Cole.
That is Brent Maycock, one of the KSHSAA covered staff writers, joining us for Storytime. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now for our quality time interview, an opportunity to spend a little extra time with our next guest. And today's guest is Ed Mense. He is the head coach of the Quinter cross country team. Coach, appreciate your time. And for you, this time of the year, how's the season going so far for you at Quinter?
It's been absolutely wonderful. It's probably my favorite time as far as coaching is concerned. I tell my kids almost on a daily basis, that's my favorite time of the day, is when we get to start cross-country practice. The atmosphere of the sport in general is just phenomenal. You couldn't ask for better kids, better work environment, I guess, if you really want to put it as work. To me, it's just a lot of fun. But as far as our teams this year, experiencing a lot of positive, a lot of growth, especially on our girls' side. We got some newbies on the girls' side. We've been very blessed with some growth over the last few years, where our numbers have been sustained. We got a girls and a boys team again this year. So
for you, I mean, you talk about, your favorite time. Like, what is that start of practice like for you? Like, what do you enjoy so much at the beginning of practice?
Well, the kids, it's not even just at the beginning, it's all throughout the practice. When you get a group of kids that seem to bond like these guys do, we might be done at 5:30 and we don't leave the building till after 6 o'clock, and they just sit. They'll talk, they visit, we joke, we have fun with each other. We have some activities that we do at times, and we try to keep it pretty light. Try to keep it kind of funny. I mean, running in itself is probably not always the funnest thing to do, especially when you get these Kansas winds and Kansas heat at 95 degrees, and you got to try to make light of the situation at times. But it's from start to finish. I mean, the kids work hard; they're there for a purpose, but they also want to make sure they're smiling and having fun with us. So, to me, it's not even just the beginning. It's throughout the entire time together.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I've heard that with other coaches in cross country. And Kelsey Carbajo with Elena was talking about how important it is to make running fun to this. Some of them love to run, but others maybe not as much, but to make it fun. How do you go about doing that, and how important is it for Quinter?
I feel like between my assistant coach, Leighton Worth, it's huge having people in place that touch base with the kids every day, and luckily working at the school, that you get to touch base with the kids throughout the day, throughout the teaching and whatnot, but to touch base at practice and, checking in with the kids and kind of getting to know them more than just at the 4 to 5:30 or 4 to 6 o'clock time that we have with them. The other thing is just enjoying your time with them. I like to tell them, kind of be where your feet are, be in the moment, be at what you're doing, and making sure that the kids are, into what you're doing, but also, again, back with to having a good time and making sure that everybody's enjoying themselves, and making sure that we stay healthy so that we can enjoy success as we go through the season as well.
How's the course like in Quinter? Where do you guys run at, and what's the shape of it right now?
We run literally all over the place. We will be found sometimes in town. We go out to the golf course. That's where we host our meet. We hosted last week here. It was hot. It was 95 degrees, 94, 95 degrees, but we run out there on a pretty regular basis. We like to go out on a couple different routes out in the country. We got some specific places where we have some pretty good sized hills, some specifics where we do some repeats. We don't really just set on just like this is where we are on Wednesday or Thursday or whatnot. We tend to move around, and we even give the kids some autonomy in that. We'll ask them, okay, well, this is kind of the workout we're looking at today. Where would you guys like to go? And give them a chance to see different parts of our area. And we won't really focus on any one place at one time unless it's something that we're like specifically trying to go after. And we may go to a place where Coach and I decide. But other than that, we're pretty open to letting them go where they want to, and making sure that we just complete the workout the way we want it done.
You mentioned your course on the golf course. So I imagine there's not a whole lot of maintenance that you have to do, but as far as a cross country ideal setup for you for a course, what is the maintenance like? A mowing has got to be up there, but for other than that, is there anything that sticks out as far as what you like to be done
on the golf course?
Yeah, or anything, or anywhere where you guys run?
Not terribly so. I mean, we try to keep it on fairly maintained roads if we're out on the country roads. I mean, minimum maintenance roads tend to have less traffic, as long as they're not terribly ruddy or anything that would cause any kind of injury. We don't mind running on those. But out the golf course, they do a really good job of maintaining the fairways, and we do a couple things. We got one that we do that's tee to greens, where we start the tee box and work our way to each green, and then we have some different things for each time we run a different tee box. And they do such a good job of keeping it maintained and up to date out there for us, that when we go out there, we basically paint the lines. Coach and I take care of that, put up the flags and whatnot. But as far as the maintenance, that's usually done for us, and we really appreciate how much the golf course does for us and allows us to use that place.
Ed Mense joining us here, head coach of the Quinter cross country teams. What got you into coaching? What inspired you to start coaching?
Well, probably, I mean, I've always been involved in sports, but one of my influences was Randy Struckoff from Grinnell. Randy had Down syndrome. He was my neighbor growing up, and we were pretty inseparable as far as doing things, as far as baseball or any kind of activities. And as I got older, we continued that bond. And as I got to teach, I actually got to go back to my hometown and teach. He would sit with us on the bench. He would be with us in most of the activities that we do. He spoke at the bonfires. He was such a staple. And the one thing that we kind of learned from him, I think, was how to basically include everybody and making sure that it's the team, the we over the me. And he was a real big proponent of making sure that, everybody was included. And when we think back to our time with him and my family with him, I would say he was probably the biggest influence of wanting me in being a coach and the kind of coach that I wanted to be. It wasn't the wins, the losses, it was more about how inclusive we could make it and the family atmosphere. And I feel like I try to do a good job of doing that with our cross country program and making people feel that they're welcomed, and it's a very inclusive environment. And we're really blessed. Our parents and our kids that are involved in this program have really, really come big for us and making sure that they make sure everybody feels like that family. And when we come out, I think it shows. I mean, the kids seem to have a pretty good time. Like I said, when it comes to running, that's not always fun, but they sure show up and show out really every week, and the parents are there in loads. So we have a good following. And when it comes to coaching, I think that all kind of stemmed from when Randy and I used to spend a lot of time growing up together. So
we mentioned kind of learning that family aspect of making everything family oriented, through Randy. Do you feel like that's an easy thing to grasp for students, especially the separation of a senior to freshman? Is that a pretty easy connection?
It is, when you have that family joint feeling. We have a really interesting bond this year. I feel the seniors and junior girls have really taken to our freshmen, and it's amazing how fast they feel a part of this team. It was literally within days, in my opinion, that they felt like they had a place and they were a part of something. When you see that, and it builds, I think, on itself, it's self-perpetuating when you have a freshman that comes in and, they're kind of wet behind the ears and they don't know exactly what to expect, even if they've done it in junior high. To have somebody that comes in and takes them under their wing, like a senior or a junior, and, kind of lead them. And it gets you excited about the future, because every single year you get somebody new, but that's a future leader that's being led by somebody that's been led themselves. So in my opinion, that's the cool thing about our program and how the family aspect works with our kids, is everybody has probably been led at some time, but now they get to that point where they themselves get to be leaders. And it's a really cool thing to watch as a coach, as you go through and you see these kids, even if they're running in college. I've got a couple of them. We have Hans Deaton and Eli Grumbacher, for example, that they still reach out to these kids. They work out with them in the summer. They have conversations with them, and that bond doesn't break just because they leave. I think they continue that strong bond together, and making sure that, leadership builds upon leadership, and those kids are going to become leaders themselves and make our program even stronger and better.
All that leadership has resulted in some really good results. I mean, you look at your boys team, 3 straight state titles in Class 1A. The girls won it back in 2021. What was cross country like, though, when you first arrived in Quinter in 2017, and how did you kind of continue to build it up?
Well, it was a very storied program. They had a lot of success. I personally ran against Quinter. They had some guys that were in my age group that were just phenomenal runners. So I feel like I'm just a part of that story, that part of that tradition, and just trying to do our part to maintain that and hopefully continue to build the program. One thing that my coach told us is, you want to leave it better than you found it. Do whatever you can to make sure that program is going to do things the right way and make sure that things are done in a way that when you leave and somebody takes over for you, which eventually will happen, that you can be proud of the time you spent with it and be happy with what you did with it. And I feel like our chapter is one that's we're very blessed, and we've had a lot of success, but that goes all to the kids. They come in every day, like I said, and they work extremely hard, and their work ethic is matched only with their attitudes. They're just great kids, and they come in happy, smiling faces every day, and they make our job really easy, and they make us look really good.
Well, you've had an impressive stretch, Coach. Keep up the good work. Appreciate your time.
Hey, I appreciate it, Cole. Thank you, and we'll see you hopefully down the road. Maybe get to talk to you again.
Yes, sir. We'll get some of those Quinter Bulldogs on the show, too. Ed Mense, head coach of the Quinter cross country team, joining us for Quality Time. SPX Specialized Video Wall Solutions. Your gym needs SPX. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. Right now, we get the opportunity to jump over to Brice Kesler. He's the executive director for the Kansas Shrine Bowl. Hey, Brice, appreciate you jumping on the show here today. Talk some Shrine Bowl. I know right now you guys came out with the announcement earlier this summer about your next head coaches for 2026 that'll be taking place in Emporia for the Shrine Bowl. But for you, how do you attack this time of the year? What's on your plate right now?
Yeah, a lot of it, first of all, thanks for having me on the new show. I'm glad you got something going here. It's a pretty cool thing you got going, Cole. So excited to see the future of Kansas Sports Chatter, and glad to be a part of it. Yeah, so this time of year, a lot of it is putting just some of those pieces into place for next year's game, and and on the sponsorship side, anybody who's been in sales, and of course, in your experience in radio selling sports and stuff, you're always selling. So just having those conversations with our corporate partners and finding new folks who want to be a part of our philanthropy, be a part of our game, and help us, make the biggest impact we can for Shriners Children's, and then just putting all those little pieces together for the game, the future site and everything like that is so. I tell people it's not nearly as visibly busy, if you will. There's still a lot going on, but the timelines aren't quite as strenuous this time of year, so that's kind of nice. Get a chance to just relax a little bit, but continuing to push forward. And then, as you mentioned, get the head coaches in place and start working on our staffing and everything like that. Because as anybody who's been around it or certainly been a part of the Shrine Bowl knows, there's a lot of moving pieces to it. It's not something that you just roll out of bed one day and be like, okay, let's play the game. I mean, there's a lot that goes into planning it and making sure it's a great experience for everybody, and also making sure that we're doing everything we can to maximize the impact that we can have, not only on all the people that are a part of it, the participants, everybody, but then beyond that with the hospital.
You talk about the future side, Emporia, for the next 3 years, Brice. What is that selection process like when you're trying to determine where to play the actual Shrine Bowl game?
Yeah, so this is a new, a new era for the Shrine Bowl to play in the same location on consecutive years. That's never happened. It started out, there was kind of a set rotation, and then it kind of went more of a bid process where cities would put in, their bid to bring the Shrine Bowl to their city. And And that still is kind of, I guess, the process, if you will. But a lot of it just comes down to things have gotten really difficult finding mutual dates that work. Everybody is so busy. These college campuses are busy hosting events, cities themselves, bringing in different events, trying to find those mutual dates that work for us, our organization, the timeline that we have to work with to fit in our game. It has tightened up considerably. The college calendar has really tightened up on these athletes who are going on to play at the next level, and what schools are able to do, colleges are able to do in terms of bringing guys in and starting preseason camps and starting those practices. That continually seems like it gets moved up earlier and earlier. Which that makes an impact on us when we have a lot of these guys who are going on to play the next level. And so when they're expected to be on their college campuses now, earlier and earlier, that impacts our ability to keep them in our game. And the KSHSAA calendar, it seems like it moves further back. So there's a very tight window to try and play the game in, and then finding mutual dates with cities. So really the process is a lot of that, just figuring out what works, when it works. From our perspective with the Emporia deal, kind of trying this new set 3-year thing, playing it on the 4th Saturday of June, trying to get some regularity to when the game is played. The wear is obviously going to be a little bit regular now as well the next several years. But a lot of it is finding that date that you can put on the calendar and just kind of know, hey, this is when the Shrine Bowl is going to be played. When it started out, it was played late July. We're talking like last weekend in July. And anybody who's familiar with the way college football is and stuff now, that's certainly not an option anymore to play the last weekend in July. Everybody, we'd have no players left, or certainly no players who are going to go on to play at the next level anyway. And so just there's a lot of pieces, and then that's just finding dates and those kind of things, and then the logistics that go into it. Dorm space, hotel space, all the things that are required to play the game. And our camps have only grown and grown and grown, which is a great thing. Our rosters themselves have grown even within the last half dozen years. They've gone from mid-30s on each roster to now we're at 44 players on each roster. And then you've got the cheer camp that is pushing 200 cheerleaders plus 20, 25 or so coaches with those cheer teams each year, and the band camp, which is in that 180 or so kid range right now. And those keep getting bigger, and there's a lot of beds that are needed on a campus to house those kids. We've got to have the dining services that can accommodate that many kids and accommodate it in a timely fashion, getting them in, getting them out of the dining halls, feeding them, and practice facilities for all those kids. So there's so many logistics that go into it to try to find that right fit. There's a lot of places that can work, but then it's not just about in a vacuum being able to work. It's also about making sure that every one of those pieces do work on a limited timeline kind of a situation, and trying to find mutual dates. So we're excited to be going to Emporia. We were just there a couple of years ago, and it was an awesome year, awesome game. The campus there really, really fits what we need very well when it comes to, like I said, accommodating all those kids in dorms and the dining hall and just the space to make it all work. And of course, the facilities there, Welch Stadium, and the improvements that they have continually to put into that facility are top notch. And so we're really excited to be back there in Emporia and play the next 3 games there, and then we'll see what the future holds after that. Certainly it's not the closing of anything. It's just that's the next 3 years, and we'll see. We certainly enjoy the ability to be able to visit different cities across the state, and that's something that we hope to continue to be able to do. And it just might be in a little bit of a different form, a different fashion, and we'll go from there. And we've got the other events with the Shrine Duels, the wrestling event that we'd started as well, and so that being an event that we've held in Wichita the last couple of years, and my wheels are always turning. What could be next? So who knows? Maybe there's something else coming down the line as well, and that allows us to get additional cities involved in other ways. So it's a fun process. It's a stressful process sometimes, and it takes a lot of people being on the same page to make it all work.
Well, you alluded to a lot of the things that you guys either expanded or added over the last few years. So hats off to you and just your staff and the Shriners for continuing to grow. How important is that for you? You mentioned like the wheels always turning for you, Brice. Like, how important is it to make sure you continue to grow this? Because it's already successful, but you guys just keep adding to it.
Yeah, well, honestly, that's the most important thing, in my opinion. And that's because that allows us to continue to share our philanthropy with more people. The wrestling event, for instance, there are a lot of crossover. There are a lot of athletes who wrestle who also play football. So they may still get an opportunity to have participated in the Shrine Bowl potentially. But of course, there's the girls wrestling as well. And not that some of them couldn't be cheerleaders and experience it in that form as well. But you get to introduce what we do, why we do it to a whole new audience. Different families that otherwise would have never maybe known what the Shrine Bowl is about. A lot of people understand when they think of the Kansas Shrine Bowl, they think of the football game,
Sure.
And that's warranted. Obviously, that's kind of the showpiece of it, if you will. But there's so much more, the saying more than a game, which people hear a lot of times when it comes to the Shrine Bowl and are saying, for the kids. And that's not necessarily for the kids playing in the football game. That's for the kids that the game is helping, right? The philanthropy behind the Kansas Shrine Bowl. So being able to spread the awareness as well. The money that the event raises is great. And that's something that people I get that draws the attention maybe is, how much money was the event able to raise and donate to the hospital system? And I don't want to downplay that. That's certainly an important aspect of being able to make an impact. But it's also the awareness piece. That is, perhaps just as big of an important impact that we're able to make is raising awareness for Shriners Children, so that there's a family out there who has a child that could benefit from services from Shriners Children's, or maybe it's not even their child. Maybe it's somebody within their family or just a friend's family, just somebody in their community. And the more people that understand about the hospital system and how to get connected and how to get referred to Shriners Children's and understand what those guys with the silly red hat on is what most people think of a Shriner, the Fez, and what those guys are doing, why they are out there in their communities and to be able to approach them and say, hey, I've got a kid who might benefit from these services, or I know a family that might be able to benefit from what you guys do and the money you raise and the trips that those Shriners, those hospital dads, as they're called, constantly taken to St. Louis and Galveston and all these places to get children and families the care that they need, that they may have otherwise never been able to have access to. So being able to continually spread awareness for what our events are about and why we do what we do is critically important. And so the more avenues we can find to reach people is very important. And that's why adding events like wrestling and adding whatever may be next down the pipeline are very important to us.
Brice, keep up the good work. We'll be checking in with you later on in the year.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. I'm excited to see where Kansas Sports Chatter goes and grows, off to an excellent start. And anytime you want to talk a little Shrine Bowl or anything else, I'll be happy to join you, Cole.
We'll be hitting you up. Brice Kesler, the executive director for the Kansas Shrine Bowl. We'll have more Kansas Sports Chatter right after this. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. It is Conor Nicholl Knowledge on Kansas Sports Chatter. Conor Nicholl with Sunflower Sports Solutions and also a contributor for kpreps.com as well. Conor, I mean, you look at the volleyball season as we keep pushing into the month of October now. Like for you, like what has stood out? And obviously, there's some of those heavyweights that have done what we kind of expected them to do, but there's also some players and some teams that have kind of shined where I don't think a whole lot of people thought they were going to be as successful as they are.
Yeah, I want to hit on about 5 ladies that are just interesting stories this year. First of all, St. James Academy, Ellen Dorsey is number 9 in the state in assists. So Ellen Dorsey is she is a triplet. And her mom, Nancy Dorsey, has been the head coach at St. James Academy since the school started. Incredible success, of course. Her dad, Brian Dorsey, is the assistant coach. And Ellen Dorsey, this is the first time that a Dorsey has started. And so the Dorseys have five children. And Ellen Dorsey is the starting setter. And again, she is a triplet. So it's a really interesting story. St. James Academy 2 years ago had the most seniors that Coach Dorsey ever had. Last year was a little bit of a dip, relatively speaking, for them. And this year they're really good again. A lot of it is because of Ellen Dorsey stepping up. Second thing is, and what a fantastic name, and she's the best player I've seen, Hayden Meets from Gardner Edgerton. I've seen a lot of volleyball this year, and she is amazing. She's top 10 in the state in both the kills and hitting percentage. You look at somebody like from Gardner Edgerton, not necessarily a volleyball powerhouse, especially the last probably 6 to 8 years, and she's been amazing. I mean, she is truly a special player, hitting over 400 this year, not quite as well known as some others. And then two others more out west, Jaden Stewart at Tribune, also playing for her mother. They've had the best seasons Tribune's ever had. She's leading the state in kills. I did a story on them a couple of years ago. It's really cool what they've kind of done with a program that was downtrodden for a very, very long time. And then Audrey Bina from Norton. Norton has turned things around. They got a new coach, a guy a couple years ago. Audrey Bina transferred over from nearby Northern Valley, 6'1" girl, an impressive player. Norton is a really good team. And lastly, Oakley in 2A has had multiple injuries this year, including probably their best player, Jade Beckman, is out until basketball. And Oakley still has not lost this season. So some under the maybe the limelight stories that have really stood out. And also, I wanted to also mention the Morgan Freeze girl. Inman gets overshadowed a lot because of what Sutton Harris does. She's just an incredible player. But Freeze is an impressive blocker, leads Kansas in blocks. I think Inman right now is certainly a top 5 2A team. And Freeze really is a quality player. And of course, Sutton Harris, who is signed for a Power 5 school, she's been hurt a significant amount recently, I think going back into the summer even, and Freeze has really emerged for them.
With Sunflower Sports Solutions, Conor, and, you were gathering all those statistics as far as, not only the state records, but, team records as well. Like, what's that process like, and how has it gone as far as gathering all that information?
Yeah, so I don't know how many people know this, but in Kansas Sports Hall of Fame actually has documented this, that the records that I have for volleyball are the official records for Kansas. So I have the career lists for kills, assists, and digs. Started working on that process a couple of years ago, and kind of got this published about 2 years ago. I update those every year. I kind of have a running tally list going. So Max Prep's incredibly valuable resource. But I just started to look and Google and archive and talk with coaches. One example is the weight girl from Gardner Edgerton who went to Creighton. Gardner Edgerton did not use Max Preps during her time, but she was the Gatorade Player of the Year. And so I found her statistics on the Gatorade Player of the Year press release, and I used those. Talked with a lot of coaches like Meyers is not on the list at all. And I did reach out to their coach about 2 years ago now, and she had said, we've been good for a very, very long time, but we rarely had 3 and 4 year starters. And so likely we would not have anybody on your list. And it's interesting tonight because Bryn Revel from TMP, their third year starting libero, top 10 in the state in digs, she just passed 1,000 career digs as a junior. And she knows if I can get 1,600 career digs, I will be top 10 all time in Kansas.
Wow.
So those numbers, I know Jamie Patrick, who's number 1 in all-time kills. Their family is very, very aware of this. And of course, you mentioned the Stein girl from Ingalls back in the summer. I said, watch for her to get over 2,000, and she has done that. So it's been really a cool thing that our side has done. We've used, again, a lot of sources. Kansas Sports Hall of Fame and I have had multiple dialogues on this, and they said, hey, you've got the records, and great job, and we'll continue to use those.
Impressive information. Conor, appreciate the time. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Hey, certainly. Thank you, Cole. Great job.
That is Conor Nicholl with Sunflower Sports Solutions and K-Preps joining us here on Kansas Sports Chatter.
Whether it's a Friday night football game or a Saturday Scholars Bowl tournament, there are many people behind the scenes to make these activities function. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who make these events happen for our students. Without school administrators, event workers, custodians, officials, transportation personnel, and office staff, these events would not be possible. Your hard work and dedication allow students throughout the state to participate in the activities that they love.
It is Next Level Talents on Kansas Sports Chatter, an opportunity to talk to former Kansas high school athletes that are now competing at a college or university in the state of Kansas. And our guest today is going to be Austin Broadie. She's a member of the Washburn University volleyball team and out of Wichita Trinity Academy. Hey, Austin, appreciate you coming on the show. Now, you're from Burns, Kansas. So how did you end up at Wichita Trinity?
So I went to a little school called Berean in Elbing, Kansas until 8th grade. And we would drive to Wichita just because that's where we would go to do stuff. It was the closest big town where I lived. So then around high school, we decided that for sports and just other academic reasons, maybe to go to a different school. And then we just looked around, I think, in the area and decided on Wichita. So
Trinity Academy, what was it like? Kind of go back to your experience and your playing time there at Trinity Academy.
It was good. I liked Trinity a lot. And volleyball, we were good as a volleyball team. We went to state a couple times. And then basketball, my mom actually coached the basketball team as well. So that was super fun. Yeah, we played teams in the surrounding area. A lot of the teams were really good in that league. So I thought it was good.
You mentioned the surrounding area. What was the volleyball scene like, just as far as the competition, individuals in that area? What was it like playing volleyball in the Wichita area?
I think that it was tough. We would play tournaments against teams not in our league necessarily. We would play like Cheney. I don't know if that sounds familiar. There was definitely always some good girls there. Tournaments, like I want to say we played Capon a couple times, which Ella Larkin, she plays at LSU now, or she did, and then K-State. So there was some good players around, especially since I played on a Wichita club team. So I would play against them occasionally in high school.
Well, you mentioned your mom as coach for basketball. Was it a tough decision for you, like between choosing volleyball and basketball at the next level, or did you always kind of know volleyball was going to be your sport at the next level?
Yeah, it was really tough. I actually didn't pick. So I played volleyball and basketball my first 2 years at Washburn. So I was able to do both. But then picking, then it was tough. I kind of knew at that point that I was going to pick volleyball, but I still miss basketball. So, yeah.
What was it like playing both in college? I got to imagine your schedule was crazy. What was that experience like your first 2 years in Topeka?
It was a lot. My freshman year, I redshirted for volleyball, and so I was playing for basketball. So they didn't want me to miss any basketball practices because the seasons overlap a lot. I think basketball starts practice like maybe 2 weeks after school starts, and we start 2 weeks or 1 week before school. So that's only like 3 weeks where they're not going at the same time. So my freshman year, I would go to volleyball because it was usually first, go to basketball practices. So I'd have 2 practices a day, and then just pick one of the lifts to go to. So It was a full-time job. People say that I looked like a zombie, but it was definitely a lot on the body.
Yeah, I'll say. So for recruiting for you, was that the big lure to go to Washburn to allow you to play both sports? What was the recruiting process like for you when you finally were able to pick one?
Yeah, so basketball recruits a year later than volleyball, or at least they did whenever I was getting recruited. So any school that I went to, I said that I wanted to play basketball as well. So then I would get in touch with the basketball coach, or that coach would, and if they were interested in me in basketball as well, then we would set up a meeting with both coaches. So it was definitely that I wanted to play both, and I made sure that any schools I was looking at would let me do that. So
Going back to your time at Trinity Academy, was there anything that stands out to you that you learned while in high school that has kind of helped you out with the success that you're having right now at the collegiate level?
I think so. In high school, I actually played outside, and I got to play all the way around. So I think being able to develop those school skills has helped me, like getting the ball a lot as an outside and trying to find kills. Just having basic fundamentals helped me, because in college it's a lot more niche, like you practice your position. So I'm glad that I got those foundational skills in high school.
How much fun has this start been for Washburn? I know you guys have had some successful years while you've been there in Topeka, but I mean, this start has been really fun to follow. How much fun has it been for you as a player?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Like you said, there's definitely been some successful years. Obviously my freshman year, we went all the way to the championship, but that was a little different because I was redshirting, so it depended on the time if I was there or not. It has been super fun. Everyone has had a really good attitude, and I think we all kind of agreed that we wanted to do our best to go really far this year. So I'm just glad to see that we're so far, we're doing what we talked about.
Austin, appreciate your time and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you so much.
That is Austin Broadie, a member of the Washburn University volleyball team and at a Trinity Academy. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. The month of September is closing out, and as is this edition of Kansas Sports Chatter, you can see all the archived editions and all the previous shows, the full interviews, also some short clips by checking out the YouTube page. All you have to do is go over there and subscribe to the Kansas Sports Chatter YouTube channel. To close out today's show, Adam Kadavy. You talk about a guy that has called a lot of playoff wins for one school and a lot of state championships. Adam Kadavy of Scott City, the voice of the Beavers. He will close out today's show. Enjoy the highlights of Adam Kadavy.
Is underway. It's angled to the right. It'll be returned by Bertner at his own 13-yard line. We'll go up the middle, across the 20, 25, bounce the outside 30, 35, 40, 45 midfield, has a convoy on the right side, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, no flags, an 88-yarder to open up this game for the Beavers with 11:44 to go first quarter.